Welcome back, folks. This time we're doing these Tauntaun Proxies, only at $1.25 at your local dollar store. Let's get right to the table. Now, I saw these Jurassic Park figures and thought they might be great for this project, and I did get one of each available, but a couple of them aren't great. So we even got stat cards in there if you want to just have them fight each other. So what I got here is these, the Velociraptor and the T-Rex. I kind of think that they're too recognizable, and I might save those for another project. But these other two dinosaurs I think are gonna be perfect. For this project, I am using some Biker Scout troopers from Star Wars Legion as my riders. I happened to get my hands on a starter set of Star Wars Legion really cheap off of the marketplace. So we're gonna boil these things, which just makes the plastic soft, making it a bit easier to trim them off of the bases, because if we want to be able to play these with the game as a proxy, we're gonna want them on more standard looking bases. Now, I also dropped one of the troopers into that boiling hot water so that it'll flex for me here, and it does a beautiful job of that. And then to help solidify that, we're going to cool that down real quick with some compressed air. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and get these knocked onto a couple bases, and then I do have some standard bases available for a couple of these. Just tack those down right quick. And I'm always kind of on the lookout for bases I could use. I got this thing, it's some sort of notebook disc thing. It's got a little bit of a hollow here I don't like, so we're going to fill that with some UV resin to level it out. And we'll bake that with a light. We're going to get started on the details here. So my inspiration on this is the classic Ralph McCarran design for the Tauntauns, which was actually a lizard with a little bit of fur. So we're going to put the fur on some of these things to kind of help them look a little bit more alien. So we're just going to put a thin coat on the topmost area of this beastie. And then get in there with a dental tool and just start sculpting those details. Now, you can buy these dental tools online. I've seen them at military surplus shops, and I have also asked my dentist for broken and old ones and been able to get a handful from them for free. So that's a thing to consider too. Now, I like this resin 3D print of a trooper here. I like the top half of him. So I'm going to actually cut the bottom half off and then Frankenstein these things together so I end up with like a sniper version. Make sure those legs still fit nice and tight, and then of course we have to make those fit. So sanding, 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 sanding. Oh, did I mention there's some sanding? Get that to look pretty good, and we're going to glue that all together here in a moment. Now, if you would like to see a video on how to scratch build a rider, I do have a video where I did that with one of my swoop bikes build earlier this year. I will put a link for that in the description. Now that that's cured, we're going to scratch that up a little bit so it glues down nice and solid. And that disc is almost the same size. Moving on to other details on the beast, we're going to use a shop towel and a little bit PVA, Elmer's glue, and some water just to kind of make a bedroll. I've done a few different riding beasts this year, and I show doing a bedroll a few different ways. This gives us a nice fine detail one here, and then the glue makes it stiffen up nice and solid so that it doesn't flake off or anything here. And just kind of keep working it as you go. Decided to do kind of a blanket on the one there. A little bit of super glue just to tack down the corners. So remember that when you do some of these things, you're going to want to imitate gravity. So let's get some of the strapping going on these guys with some Rex lace. Stuff is reasonably cheap, has a flat side, has a round side, and it paints up pretty well, super flexible. I feel like it's a wonderful resource for all sorts of strap when you're doing these kinds of builds. See, he's looking pretty good as a sniper on there. And we're going to do a saddle a different way on this guy. We're using a hexagon I punched out of some cereal card stock. I'm going to saturate that with some and help make it shape that into a little bit better of a saddle. Again, we're going to be using some super glue as a stiffener here. Just going to roll up the front edge, kind of do the whole saddle looking thing on that. And then as far as the saddle and the other two, we're just going to sculpt those out of that same epoxy sculpt. Simple. It doesn't really show a whole lot underneath the rider, but you want just a little bit of impression of a saddle so that when you paint it, there's something there. Quick little detail, little round tool to smooth it out. With Tauntauns and some of the new releases for Legion, never mind other tabletop gaming, riding beasts can range in prices greatly, 20, 50, sometimes higher than that. I think I kept things on budget with this one. I love this trick, using pipe cleaners for rope. Just burn off the fuzz. It's a wonderful tight little braided wire. We're just going to make kind of some reins here, just shape them, glue them in place. Of course, when you're burning off that plastic fuzz, have a cross breeze, wear a mask, don't inhale that. Of course, it's poison. But it being wire, it gives you all kinds of wonderful flexibility to shape it. And again, imitate gravity. That's what helps sell this thing as a kind of a real thing, is you're telling a beautiful lie with your sculpture here. Alright, we're going to get going on his rifle. We're going to really just build it out a lot with some toothpicks. When you're working in this scale, you don't have to put a lot of fine detail in there. You can just imply that detail. And I can't tell you how many guns, weapons, and tools I have made with just toothpicks and a little imagination. So I think we're just doing kind of an extension on the top of that gun here. And then we do another little piece on the top there to be a scope. I'm just going to add a couple little pieces of rectangular punches that I have a tool for here, just to add a little bit more depth, something for the paint to grab when we get to that stage later. See, it's pretty dynamic sitting on there, taking a sniper shot at someone. And now we're going to make a little bit more stuff to go on the side of the saddle here. We're just making up a chunk of rope. And then I tell you, the price on this, again, I'm just super happy with how that ended up, and I think they end up looking great at the end. But you look at riding beasts in other game sets, other intellectual properties, and they're pretty pricey. Just a kind of a quick base coat on white. And I'm going with this kind of brick red. I had this idea to make one of them kind of a desert beast here, so we're doing a wonderful reddish color. So I live here in Colorado, and we have Red Rocks. Red Rocks Amphitheater is world famous. It's wonderful to see things there if you get a chance. But I kind of like that color tone. I thought that, a deserty kind of Tatooine thing might have a wonderful red tone so that it can just kind of hide in the desert rocks. Just kind of a watered down version of that same, just to add some color down into it. And we're just using paper towel or a Q-tip to remove off of just the highest points. We're just wanting to make it have a little bit of depth. And then we're going to go in there with a little bit more of that brick and just fine-tune some of that. Once that's done, we're going to get in there with some various washes in just a little bit more of a yellow color, just to kind of help this whole thing pop a little bit more.
If you would like to see me do other kind of riding beasts and beasts of burden, go ahead and comment beasts below. I did challenge another YouTuber not too long ago to make a riding beast. I will put a link for that in the description.
And then actually painting the guy. Kind of skip through this. Just a quick little paint job on this little biker scout guy here. I love how dynamic it all ended up looking with him pulling the rein and the animal kind of reeling off the one side. Now we're going to get going on the Hoth type Tauntaun concept creatures here, and they're already white, so I just wanted to start adding some contrast, some washes here from Army Painter, I think it is. And this just makes all the detail pop, all the sculpted hair I put on there pop, and then just a little bit of that red to kind of get the mouth to seem more organic and real. I'm not really killing it there, not trying to put blood in there, just give it a little bit of depth. And then just kind of some brown on the bottom, just kind of like it's running through some muddy stuff here, get a little bit of grime up on him. And then we're going to go in here with some blue to start adding in some kind of thylacine or Tasmanian tiger type striping in blue. And I thought that would add a lot of character to these alien riding beasts here. And again, kind of leaning into the idea that these might be a variation of a mount that you might get on Hoth.
Right, folks, so I do have some ideas for some additional Hoth builds and videos. If you really would love to see more Hoth stuff, comment Hoth below.
And I did water that blue down just a little bit, so I'm doing multiple passes, not just one thick gloppy thing. I just want that to be able to be a color, not a thick chalky thing that changes the details. And then kind of similar with what I did on the last guy. I don't really show the paint job on the troopers or much of the saddle here. There's lots of folks that'll show you how to paint stuff here.
I am adding this super weak light blue wash into the hair just to add that cold feeling everywhere.
Hey folks, a whole lot of you folks are not subscribed and seem to keep coming back, so I think maybe you should subscribe so you don't miss stuff. I do try to put out a video every week, and you don't want to miss out on something cool. Now these rocks, now that big one there is actually a kitchen sponge. The little one there is a volcanic rock, just painted blue, kind of be a iceberg, kind of frozen chunk of ice, all distorted and whipped down by wind. We're just going to do a little bit of a dance on that with a bit of white, just to kind of make some of those high details pop. And then we are about ready to add snow. Now, typically, the atypical thing that a lot of folks do is just Elmer's glue and baking soda. Problem being is after time, that yellows and kind of doesn't look right anymore. So what I'm doing this time is I'm going to use some dishwasher safe Mod Podge and baking soda and white paint to hopefully sidestep the whole issue of them being yellow. And then mix that up and keep kind of adding your components until you get it to kind of give you a little bit of a peak, a little bit of a standing tip when you mess with it here. And then that actually gives a nice kind of snow effect. I'm using a small coffee stick stirrer here so that I can kind of apply it to the model without getting it on the model too much here. Just kind of push it in there, push it around. If you do get some on those toes, don't worry about it too much. We're going to come back in and work on that in just a moment. Just pile up as much as you like. And now we're going to get and clean up the edge with a paper towel. And then just kind of keep adding that snow where you like it. A little bit on the rock. I think it adds a wonderful atmosphere to this. Definitely feels like Hoth with all the snow and big chunky weird blue ice. Of course, gotta get it on the other guy. So just a small brush with a little bit of water, cleaning it off of the toes, moving it off of the character or stone or whatever, wherever you don't like it. pretty good. It looks like a nice kind of gooey snow there. You got your rebel here with his big old Gatton equipment. You got the sniper here with his big old gun. That snow, that's fantastic. If you try this, let me know. Share a picture with me. Here's our desert guy. Same exact lava rocks, just left them raw. And then we get in there and do the edge on this. And here we get a bit of a glamour shot just on my winter guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. Again, if you have not subscribed, go ahead and do that. Have a fantastic day.